Today we're going to talk about the Remington Model 8, particular one from 1926. So that's been around a while, like as in 93 years. Nostalgic stuff. I'm really getting into these old rifles. Started kind of backwards with the Model 81, which was the successor to the Model 8, but very interested in these beautiful old John Browning designs. I had my sights set on the Model 8 ever since I picked up the 81, and I had an opportunity to start in on a bit of a project gun. That's what we're going to talk about today. Stay tuned. What do we have here? Looks like a bunch of gun parts. What we're looking at here in particular is something I've been talking about a little bit recently. The Remington Model 8. Remington Model 8. And this particular one is something that I'm doing as kind of a follow-up. I had the Remington Model 81, a 1937 model that we have been enjoying lately. We did some troubleshooting with it, the whole 9 yards. Well, this was the gun this is derived from, the predecessor. It's the Model 8. This one has a barrel date. The barrel date code on this is 1926, and that has a little bit of meaning to me because that's the year my late father was born. But I'm going to double check here and make sure that that's up. This might be a parts gun from somebody, I don't know. We'll see. But it's got some things I really like. It's got this old school stock. It's not the pistol grip version, it's just the straight. And as you can see here, looking at the wood, very nice looking wood grain, kind of unique. I love this waviness there of the grain. Okay, so that's different from the 81. What else is different from the 81? Well, if you look at the magazine, you're going to see that this back feed lip is only on one side. On the Model 81, it's on both sides. Here, this feed lip's built in on this particular side, and then has a removable feed lip on the other side. So, be interesting to see if we have the same issues, similar issues, or something different. Hopefully we don't have to replace this magazine spring. And hopefully we don't have to replace a lot of anything from just some knowledge we gained. Just some other differences. If you look real closely in here, you'll see the firing pin, and it is not spring-loaded. It was spring-loaded on the later models, but this one is not. I have an extra extractor, although upon inspection of this one, don't see any reason why it wouldn't work. But I do have a different version. So if you see right here, this comes straight across the top. If you compare it to this one here, this is curved. So, you know, is that going to be an issue? Probably not. But it'll be something to look for if we have extraction problems when we get this bolt together. Other differences, the takedown on the 81, this was a screw. You needed a tool, whereas here on the Model 8, it's a sling swivel that you just rotate by hand. So you could take this down without a screwdriver or any kind of tool. So overall, this is Not as quite as good a shape as the other one. This is more what you'd expect of a firearm that has been used to look like. The barrel looks good. I can tell you that just in terms of this spring loaded, this is a long action recoil, which means you have a couple different springs running in here. The barrel runs on the inside, and then this is spring loaded, and it's a little bit stiffer than the other one. I think I'm going to have to work in there a little bit. Going to start by lubing it, and at some point I'm going to get the proper tools that are needed to go ahead and take off this barrel nut and do a really nice deep cleaning. But that's not going to be step one. Step one's just going to be lubing it well enough to troubleshoot it, and if it turns out my problems are in front of the receiver, that's what we'll do. But other than that, it's something we're pretty familiar with now. So I'm not going to go through the step-by-step of how you put this thing together. Like I said, there's other resource material for that out on the web. There's a number of good videos. But I wanted to show you what I'm starting with. And our goal, this is a weekend project, our goal is to have this thing functioning here in a day or two. And if we have to order parts, obviously, that's gonna take away from that time frame, but we'll see. We'll see. Remington Model 8. Let's get this bad boy working. 35 Remington. Now I want to show you something real quick. What you're looking at going down the top of this bolt group is the extractor, okay? And it slides in and joins the front of the bolt right up here, okay? So it goes down a groove that's in the main part of this bolt carrier, or bolt group, if you will. So this is what this is supposed to look like, okay? This is what the bolt that this particular rifle came with looks like. If you look real closely here, you can see that somebody actually went in with some kind of tool and boogered this thing up. And if you look real close, you'll also see that there's a crack where that's going to be a problem. My guess is somewhere along the line, somebody had a problem figuring out how to take this bolt apart. So what they did is they said, hey, we'll just we'll cut this here so it'll be real easy just to lift this piece out. Just lift it out like so. I have never seen any kind of Bubba job like this. I sure as hell wouldn't fire anything using this bolt. I can salvage parts, bolt capture spring, the firing pin, the extractor. These are all good, as well as the actual bolt itself, and you can see in there some cam pins, as well as this piece, which is what goes back, fits over the trigger, and then it goes back into your action spring. But this is useless. This is absolutely useless. I've never seen anything like this, and oh well. So here she is, all put together. This is the Model 8. I love this half moon buttstock, the straight stock instead of the pistol grip. I just love this look. This is kind of interesting right here. Don't know what these are about. At some point somebody filled these, I'm guessing. That doesn't look natural for the wood. But this baby's from 1926. We got her all together. Very, very cool. Very cool. So where we left off, we were messing around with that bolt, and I've still got some more work to do, but luckily that takes the exact same bolt group and caliber as my Model 81, so we popped that in there just so we could get an idea how this one feels shooting, recoil wise, everything else. So we're gonna take a few shots here at this target, which is about 35 paces away. I'm gonna aim kind of dead center on all that stuff. This is a little bit different sight picture. Those peep sights are great when you're using them. I do like buckhorn sights, although this one's kind of shallow. I'll show you a little bit more in a minute. Really like this firearm though. I hope it shoots as nice as it looks. Let's see. Now we're going to start this out this time with 4. Remington swears up and down in their somewhat ancient literature that these things will handle 5 no problem. I've seen a lot of evidence to the contrary, especially in terms of talking to guys that shoot these guns with the 300 Savage and the 35 Remington. These tend to be a lot better functioning with 4. So this is the first 4 through this gun. Let's see how it does. Didn't do a bolt hold open on the last, which I was kind of surprised about, but cycled 4 no problem, so I don't have any concerns about this magazine spring, which was an issue with the last one. Of course, we know the bolt and the extractor and ejector and all that's good. Let's go see how we did. So here's my target. You can see standing, pretty decent group. I mean, I was mostly just worried about the function of the firearm as opposed to anything else. My point of aim, it looks like it's a little bit high and right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to aim for this lower left target this time and see where those are. I'm going to aim bullseye there and see where that gets me. Going to go with 4 cartridges again this time. Sometimes it seems to matter where you are in terms of the magazine itself. In other words, if your 4th one or your 3rd one or stuff like that, there's some kind of problem has to do with either the compression strength of the magazine spring, or is it getting caught up on something. There's all sorts of things that can affect this. Nope, it doesn't hold open on the last one, which, to be honest, isn't a real big problem for me, not in terms of a hunting rifle. You did see how she did in terms of that double tap, though. That's what we're looking for. And one thing I want to point out, too, this kind of half-moon buttstock shape and this straight buttstock as opposed to the pistol grip. The Model 81 was designed to be a little bit less of a kick with this. I don't notice a kick with this at all. I like it. Let's go see how we did. Okay, I was mentioning earlier, I thought it was a little bit high and right, and I was going to make my point aim right here, this lower left. That seems to be what we're doing. Fairly consistent group. You'll see that I shot those 4 shots, then I shot a double tap, and I'm assuming that the first one is one of the ones you see there that's just high of the target, and then the other one probably went God knows where. I don't think I even hit paper with that second one. I was just seeing how quick I could pop it off. Okay, so you move your rear sight the direction you want your rounds to go. So if I want them to go down, I've moved this down to just about the bottom of the ramp. Okay, now this particular sight doesn't have a big notch here. There's some buckhorn sights that give you a better sight picture, and I might look into that. They offer that on this model, but you don't get a ton of sight picture here. Certainly taking something like a deer out at 50, 75 yards, no problem. But let's see how this adjustment does just in terms of our elevation. Now I'm going to try 3. I have adjusted that rear sight, so we're hoping to be a little bit more in terms of proper elevation. I'm going to aim at the lower right target. Let's see what we can get. There's my 3 shots, and elevation wise, this is about where I'd like to be at 30 yards. So that part we're good on. Now it's just a matter of looking at that windage there and bringing that over. And who knows, maybe with a rifle like this, it's just a matter of Kentucky windage. I don't know. But I did get mission accomplished on my elevation. You can see I brought these shots down a couple inches from where I was starting before. And the other thing you can always do again is adjust your sight picture a little bit. I was putting the bead and the notch directly on here. Typically, if I'm shooting at an animal with something like this kind of sighting system, I'm gonna probably put the animal right above that. Okay, something really cool I want to show you. Like the 81, this is a Takedown Firearm. However, this is a little bit different. The 81, you have a screw right there. The Model 8, you've got this little device right here. It almost looks like a sling swivel. You can unscrew that. That pops right off. You have this takedown lever. And you know, whether you want to fool around with it like this, I like to just take it up like this and twirl it. And there you go. So you can store this in a nice little neat package, and they actually made like a leather case that you could do that with. One of the things that I did do, and you can kind of see right here, is I cleaned up a lot of surface rust in there and put a lot of lube. But at some point, I suspect what I'll need to do is actually take off this barrel cap, and then you've got a couple different springs in here, like we said. But and then as far as putting it back together, just like this. And one of the things I mentioned is, lucky for me, I had the 81 and 35 Remington. As I ran into some, as documented, some pretty serious bolt issues with this guy. As far as just testing out the rest of the firearm, things of that nature, just dropping in that bolt, it was completely interchangeable and worked slick as can be. So that part's cool. Great design. I personally, even though the 81 is a more accurate firearm, I would say at this point, this is just, to me, it just has a cool factor that is out of this world. Number one, it doesn't have an aftermarket sight on it. It's using the original buckhorns. Number two, the wood on this thing is beautiful. And, you know, it's an old firearm, as we've said. I mean, and there's a mechanism, an indicator in here, which I could probably fool around with or maybe reshape. That'll give me last bolt hold open on my last round. But fact of the matter is, this isn't a self-defense firearm. This is something that I will take hunting, and you know, I don't think I'm going to need to worry about, oh, did my bolt hold open on the last. In fact, if I'm out in the rain or the elements, maybe I don't want it to. So cool stuff, guys, and I'll keep you posted. I've got a lot of work to do on this bolt. I don't want to bore you with it. It goes beyond gun nerd, that's for sure, but I'm just going to have to get lucky and probably order duplicate on some of the parts, because fact of the matter is there's too many of them are old. Last thing I'm going to do is try that 5-shot internal magazine, and I'll tell you what, you really have to pack that last one in there, which makes me wonder if it's going to do it. Like I said, with my Model 81, it really showed me it didn't like that. It really showed me 4 was kind of his limit, but we're going to go ahead and try 5 real quick with this. Let's see if we can get 5 off. And the answer to that's no. We can do 3. 2 more. I wouldn't feel any need to worry about putting a bunch of time tinkering around to get the last bolt hole open. That's probably a function of the magazine indicator and the magazine indicator spring. It's real clear to me that magazine indicator springs, things of that nature, there's just not a lot of those out there. And so if you know, you're going to get too picky about how these guns function, you can drive yourself crazy, and then probably Murphy's Law, something else will break. So I definitely want to work on the bolt with this firearm. There's no doubt about that. And that's something that's probably just going to take some troubleshooting and so forth and so on. But I do know that this particular bolt works great, and depending on which firearm I wanted to use, I could pop it in. It's interchangeable, obviously, though we want to have them both with a bolt that works reliably. Anyway, I appreciate you watching today. As always, this is fun. I'd love to go hunting with this firearm. I've got a little bit more sighting to do, and you know, one thing that I am noticing right now, here's my front sight, and I was wondering, okay, how am I going to drift that? Well, she kind of comes right out as it heats up, so I might have a little work to do on that. It's always something with these old guns. Anyway, this is Dr. Drake 63. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on down the road, guys.